नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ प्रोफेशनल लर्निंग में आपका स्वागत है।
Well, I hope you've been having some fun with your Photoshop filters. You may have been gone for a little while. I have no idea. They're lots and lots of fun, though, of course. But what I want to do now is I want to show you the filter gallery. I think you're really, really going to like this. I've gone and closed out of the photograph of the barn windows, by the way, of course, because I'm going to go and grab a different image. I'm going to go and grab alwaysbrightideas.psd, this guy here. And what I want to do is I want to use my filter gallery on this guy to create some kind of an artistic effect. Maybe I want to make it look like this guy was painted on canvas or painted using watercolors or something like that. Now, give me just a moment here. This guy doesn't have a background, right? So inside the layers panel, what I'm going to do super quick here is I'm going to go and create a fill color layer, the solid color fill layer, solid white here, something like this, just so he has a background. As a matter of fact, this is completely off topic, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab both layers and hit Controller Command E, and that will merge the two selected layers together, okay, which has nothing to do with the filter gallery. Let's head back to the filter menu and then down to filter gallery. So you've been messing around and having some fun with filters so far inside Photoshop, I hope. There's even more inside the filter gallery, more filters, more special effects that we have available to us. This dialog box is probably the largest dialog box I've ever encountered. It's huge. Of course, over on the left-hand side, we have this huge preview window. And what you may want to do is zoom out on that preview so you can get a better idea of what your image actually looks like. In the center column, we have all of our effects, which I'll be getting to in just a second. And then over on the right-hand side, we have the controls for the effect and the number of effects that we can add to our image. So with the filter gallery, we can actually stack multiple filters onto an image. It's pretty cool stuff. So, for instance, maybe I want to twist open the artistic category here, which is already opened up for me, and you can see there's a variety of effects or filters ready to go. For instance, paint daubs, something like this, or cutout, maybe something like this, right? And as I'm choosing these different options, we're going to wind up getting a different set of controls over on the right-hand side. So maybe I wind up on something like rough pastels, right? Maybe that's the one that I'll stick with here. And then I can start monkeying around with the different options, the different controls that we have. For instance, things like the stroke length, the stroke detail, the texture, canvas, so I have sort of this canvas effect happening here. Maybe I want to go with burlap, something like this, right? And really, as always, there's really no right or wrong here. It's really more a matter of monkeying around with the options until you really get something that you like, okay? So maybe something like this I don't really like a whole lot. I could switch over to watercolor and then go and monkey around with the watercolor effects, maybe something like this, okay? So again, it's just a matter of kind of monkeying around and playing around until you get the results that you want, okay? So maybe I'll go back to cutout, something like this, and let's see what I can do with this guy here. Number of levels. Actually, maybe I'll drop that down. Number of levels there. Something like that. Who knows? Whatever it could be that we're after here. Edge simplicity, edge fidelity, whatever it is that you want, okay? And by the way, I'm not really pleased with what I'm getting over on the left-hand side, but that's beside the point because I really want to focus on the filter gallery here. So I'm monkeying around here. Now, what's cool about the filter gallery, and I alluded to this just a moment ago, is we can actually stack multiple filters on top of one another. So check this out. What I'm going to do is down towards the bottom right corner, I'm going to click on this guy here, New Effect Layer. And wouldn't you know it, we get a new effect down in this sort of this bottom right quadrant. Think of these guys as your layers. Okay, so now I have two cutout effects. I'm going to grab one of the cutouts, the topmost cutout, and what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to twist open Sketch, and what I'll do is I'll go and throw on a different effect, maybe graphic pen, something like this, or note paper, or halftone pattern, or whatever it is that I want. Okay, maybe watercolor paper. I think you get the idea here. Okay, so maybe I'll go with watercolor paper. Once again, I get a different set of controls up towards the top right that I can use to go and adjust the effect that I'm going to be applying to my image. Okay, now let me go back to something a little more decent looking here, maybe graphic pen, something like that. What's really cool here is these effects, as I say, are very similar to layers. So I can disable the view of one of the effects to go back to just the cutout, or I could go graphic pen and then disable cutout. Let me see what it looks like with just the graphic pen. So we can actually start stacking 3, 4, 5 different effects all on top of one another. It's pretty cool. Maybe something crazy like this. Who the heck knows what it could be that you're after? Okay, so all I do is I just make sure that I grab the correct effect layer before I start monkeying around with some of the different options that I have inside the center column. Okay, and usually what I try to do is keep these guys all collapsed and then go after individual options here, maybe patchwork or whatever it might be. Okay, so of course you can have tons and tons of fun with the filter gallery. If there's an effect that I have inside the bottom area of my filter gallery that I'm not happy with, maybe cutout, I can reselect that guy at any point in time and go and monkey around with his controls, or I could go and change him to some other effect that I may have available in the center column. Okay, so I can always go back, I can always make changes, change the filter that's being applied, or I could take this guy, he's now diffuse glow, and I could get rid of him. I could trash him just like that. Okay? So, very flexible. You can spend as much time inside the filter gallery as you want, creating the effect that you want for your image. Once you're happy, go ahead and click on OK, and the set of filters that you had set up inside the filter gallery are now applied to your image, as we can see here. So, very cool stuff. I have to reinforce this, though, with you. The filters that we saw in the previous exercise, let's call them the standard filters inside Photoshop, and also the filters that we have inside the filter gallery are permanent changes to our image. There's no way to go back now and continue making our changes. Once I click on OK inside the filter gallery, that's it. So I've got to show you how to work with your filters in a non-destructive way. Let's see how to do that in the next exercise.